say that until now the discussions of the Baku Forum, the 11th edition of the Baku Forum, have been oriented on climate change issues and also on security issues. And so I think for this afternoon we have a debate coming on the role of regional economic and military organizations. But before that, we have the privilege and the honor to host Mr. Hakan Fidan, the new minister, I still can say, the new Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkey since June 2023. And I would like to briefly sketch your career until now. Graduated at the Turkish Military Academy. You obtained bachelor degrees at University of Maryland College in the States. You then obtained a master's and doctoral degree from the Department of International Relations at the Bilkent University in Ankara, if I'm well informed. Served as a president of the Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency, deputy undersecretary responsible for foreign policy and security issues at the Prime Ministry, board member of the International Atomic Energy Agency, special representative of the Prime Minister, deputy undersecretary of the National Intelligence Organization, undersecretary director of the National Intelligence Organization, and special representative of the President. And you were also in 2010, and you served in that position for 13 years. You were appointed then as the Undersecretary Director of the National Intelligence Organization of Turkey. Just to mention that we not only have a Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkey, but we also have a very seasoned and experienced specialist of intelligence and security issues. So, Mr. Minister, we are looking forward to listen to you. For the order, we will listen to the Minister, then we will have Q&A, including some questions from the audience. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. You have the floor.
Prime Minister, thank you very much. Excellencies, dear participants, it is a distinct pleasure to be in Azerbaijan to attend the 11th Global Baku Forum. I wholeheartedly thank the Nizami Gencevi International Center for this kind invitation. Since its inception, Forum has helped establish Baku as a center of diplomacy. It did so by providing regional perspectives from South Caucasus on global affairs. As you know, we organized the third Antalya Diplomacy Forum, ADF, earlier this month. Fostering a regional outlook and thinking outside the box of established narratives are also among the key objectives of the ADF. Dear friends, we stand on the brink of a drastic transformation within the global system. That is why crises, conflicts, and wars have escalated to unprecedented levels. In such times, the international community expects the so-called rules-based international system to deliver fair and effective solutions to outstanding challenges. Unfortunately, today, neither the international system nor the major actors behind it are delivering these solutions. Instead, the hegemonic powers are pursuing their own agendas. Moreover, it is evident that no one can independently address the geostrategic challenges at hand. Therefore, solutions based on regional ownership stand out as the most viable path forward. Let us start with the South Caucasus. Azerbaijan had to wait several decades for the Minsk Group to end the Armenian occupation of Karabakh. The Minsk Group has chosen a strategy to prolong the occupation rather than ending it, despite several UN Security Council resolutions. Following Second Karabakh War and the anti-terror operation, justice has finally been served. Right after the Second Karabakh War in 2020, President Erdogan and President Aliyev made a very visionary call for peace by proposing a regional mechanism of 6 states: Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Russia, Iran, and Georgia. This proposal was built on the premise that the countries of our region, not outsiders, can pave the way for genuine peace and stability. The 3+3 platform, as it is called today, was quickly established and already held 2 meetings. Our doors also open to our Georgian friends whose position we truly understand. We will host the third one in Turkey this year. This region-grown initiative is remarkable for having brought two sides and regional actors to the same table. One should also mention that the quick embrace of this initiative was also possible due to already existing regional platforms. Turkey takes pride in leading these trilateral and quadrilateral processes, which have been very fruitful for regional cooperation. In fact, just this morning, we held the 9th trilateral foreign ministers meeting between Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. The Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization, too, has been vital in generating a culture of working together in a wider geography. Thanks to these efforts, Azerbaijan and Armenia are now very close to a comprehensive peace treaty. I must note that while we strive for peace, there are some who still cling to old habits. I am referring to certain Western countries, which take unilateral actions primarily for domestic political consumptions. Also biased acts like those taken at the Council of Europe against Azerbaijan. There is a historic window of opportunity for peace in South Caucasus. Our call to all countries is to encourage, not to spoil, the negotiations for a peaceful settlement. Distinguished guests, such a negotiated solution is direly needed in the war in Ukraine. Turkey has held a principled position since the beginning of the war. We support Ukraine's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity, including Crimea, in political and practical terms. While doing so, we also give diplomacy a chance and exert efforts to mitigate the repercussions of the war. Regional ownership has been guiding us in this pursuit. The Black Sea Initiative was a prime example in developing regional solutions to regional impasses with global ramifications. The Mine Countermeasure Task Force is yet another recent regional initiative. Turkey, Bulgaria, and Romania, as three littoral NATO allies, will contribute to maritime and energy security in the Black Sea. There is also a clear need for a new arrangement in the Black Sea to ensure the safety of commercial navigation. Such a new mechanism must be based on new facts on the ground. It should also enjoy the support of both Ukraine and Russia. We understand that both countries favor exploring the possibility of a new security framework. I can say that an agreement seems to be reachable. This new mechanism will contribute to global food security as well as de-escalation in the Black Sea. Distinguished participants, the war in Ukraine is in its third year, yet we do not see it ending soon. The immense loss of lives on both sides and physical damage caused by the conflict have brought about a stalemate. Given the exponential attritional impact of the war, neither side nor our world can afford a forever war. In view of the growing complexities of the war, there is a clear need to create room for diplomacy. Calling for negotiations is not asking Ukraine to submit or surrender. It is just a call for speeding up the inevitable, which is finding a solution around the table. Prolongation of the war will also further erode stability in our region and beyond. Reaching a negotiated settlement based on safeguarding Ukraine's legitimate interests still constitutes a priority. However, this doesn't mean recognition of the occupation. In order to stop this war, which is taking place during the 21st century on the European continent, it is high time to decouple the issues of sovereignty from a ceasefire. Dear friends, last October, I told my OIC colleagues that member states should take the matter on their hands this time, instead of waiting for others to solve its own problems. Otherwise, Israel will simply make us forget this atrocity by committing another even more brutal one. The contact group established by the extraordinary summit of the OIC and Arab League displayed an act of regional ownership. As 7 countries, we were mandated to act on behalf of the Muslim world and intervene in the ongoing tragedy in Palestine. Thanks to the group's effort, an overwhelming majority of the international community is now in favor of an immediate ceasefire, unhindered humanitarian relief, and the two-state solution. Yet our intensive diplomatic efforts have not stopped Israel's war crimes in Gaza. Unfortunately, we have more than 31,000 martyrs as of today, most of them women, children, and elderly. Gaza is now razed to the ground and largely inhabitable. The so-called maritime corridor, via an entity acted as a logistical hub to supply Israel's military campaign with weapons and ammunition, is yet another aid-washing exercise. It serves to the interests of Israel and its supporters for blockading the humanitarian supplies from Rafah crossings. Therefore, it is our duty to honor the sacrifices and unspeakable agony that the Palestinians had to endure. This will not be served until we materialize the two-state solution based on pre-1967 borders and with full-fledged Palestinian statehood. In the past, reaching a final settlement has not been possible due to Israel's lack of commitment to the two-states vision. Therefore, this time we came up with the proposal of guarantorship mechanism. Our idea is that with such a mechanism based on regional ownership, major regional countries and international actors would assume responsibility to monitor, verify, and when needed, enforce the obligations of the parties as a part of the final agreement. Our proposal along these lines has been well received by our regional and international interlocutors. Türkiye will remain ready to take such responsibility in this regard. Dear friends, Türkiye's outlook on regional ownership is not limited with these three major international conflicts. As for the Syrian crisis, Türkiye is among guarantor states of the Astana platform that aims to provide the calm on the ground and elaborate the ways to advance political process. Turkey aims to nurture regional ownership through contacts at highest levels for achieving a sustainable political solution in Libya too, based on stability, territorial integrity, and unity. Furthering the process for free, fair, and credible elections on a consensual basis is a strategic imperative in this sense. As far as the Balkans is concerned, the region goes through another chapter of volatile regional dynamics, aggravated by global developments. Turkey-led home-ground regional initiatives such as the Southeast Europe countries' cooperation process and trilateral mechanisms gained on greater importance. Dear friends, while Asia is returning to the center of geopolitics, we are institutionalizing our bonds with our historical homeland. The Organization for Turkic States today stands as a full-fledged international organization. It is constantly expanding integration and cooperation in several fields. Finally, Turkey's regional ownership policies also encompasses energy and connectivity projects. We support initiatives such as TAP, Trans-Caspian East-West Middle Corridor, and the Development Road Project of Iraq. Recent international developments certified once again that any connectivity plan that excludes Turkey and our region is doomed to fail. In any case, we follow our region's strategic priorities rather than those imposed by global hegemonic powers. Dear friends, there are many other more issues that can be raised in terms of regional ownership, but let me stop here for the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Before giving the floor to colleagues in the room, well, first of all, thank you for your address. If I may ask you two questions. The first one, coming back to our hosting nation, more specifically on the very important task Azerbaijan has in later this year as the hosting country for the COP29 meeting. We have had some exchanges already during this Baku forum on the content, the outlook in that domain, and what kind of solutions should be brought in the field of financing and others. I would like to ask you a question from another order, maybe to elaborate a little bit on your view how Azerbaijan, through these very, let's say, active diplomatic initiatives like hosting COP29, how you see the future role of Azerbaijan broader than its own territory, where thankfully things are settled, as you mentioned, but how you see the role of this country in the broader region in a strong alliance, of course, with Turkey.
Well, thank you very much for the question and for your patience. You have stated that we, as Turkey, have excellent relations with Azerbaijan, and for a long time we've been enjoying our cooperation to further advance our cooperation in economic and regional development fields. And we've been closely following with pride that Azerbaijan is a rising star in the Caucasus in terms of the stability that they bring, in terms of the economic and growth speed that they bring to our region. And in recent years, for example, Azerbaijan has started playing a very pivotal role in the Caucasus, in a very positive role. And it is becoming a hub for regional diplomacy and regional ownership and regional projects. We, as Turkey alone, work with them on numerous issues, the rail work, the connectivity projects, the energy projects, and economic projects. Last year, I was here just to attend in Shusha, the international meeting of Organization of Economic Cooperation. And as you said, this year they will hold a COP meeting, and today they are holding this famous forum, consecutive ninth time. And altogether, there are other events that I am not remembering now that Azerbaijan is actually actively either hosting or participating. And also, Azerbaijan is playing a very important role in Europe's energy security. Whoever I meet in Europe these days, they also seek our assistance to get close to Azerbaijan and to have better discussions on energy security. And these are just a couple of examples that I can only give now. Maybe I should stop here.
Thank you very much. From my side, maybe a second question, and then I will invite my colleagues to ask you questions from the audience. My second question would relate to the current debates about, let's say, the repositioning of Europe in the NATO alliance and the thinking about a future new security architecture in Europe. Maybe just a broad question, how you see these debates and what the vision of Turkey would be on these debates and where they should lead to.
Again, thank you, Prime Minister. This is another very important question that we are actually working on it very, very hard, because European security architecture is now involved in a shape of European Union, and increasingly European Union and NATO is having an overlapping agenda, if not operational or logistic platforms. What does it mean for Turkey? Turkey has been left outside of European Union membership for some time, and there is no light on the horizon for us to be a member of European Union, but we are a member of NATO. The tendency that the European Union and almost all of them are NATO members. So European Union as a group within NATO has started playing a dominating role now, which is understandable. But countries like Turkey and Norway, Canada, we are not member of European Union, but we are member of NATO, and we have our own legitimate security concerns. If NATO's agenda is dominated by too much the priorities of European Union, and our security concerns are left out, so that creates a little bit problem. This is one point that we are drawing the attention of our allies in Europe and in North America. So I think one of the major issues within NATO and European security architecture is how to combine European Union security interests with NATO. I mean, now the assumption is, the impression is, the two have become almost identical. So there is no even discussion about this. But in reality, NATO has a different command and control mechanism, and they have been largely contributed by and led by the American armed forces. So as Turkey, as I said, I mean, we are closely following these developments, and whenever we attend the ministerial meetings or leaders summit, and also technical levels, we are bringing forward these discussion points and we raise our concerns. I think the good thing is there is a good environment to really include all the argumentations and the discussions into the larger policy-making framework. And we've been enjoying a good dialogue with the NATO Secretary General and his staff, and with some other key NATO partners. But just a few other questions, maybe if I have time, regarding Turkey's position vis-à-vis NATO countries. There are two issues that we've raised, especially in the last 2 years, which were caused by, on the occasion of acceptance of Finland and Sweden as member of NATO. You know, the main argument was those two countries are valuable for NATO's expansion, and their membership will make NATO stronger. We said, look, I mean, if we are talking about making NATO and NATO countries safer and stronger, so we have some points to make too. One is, I mean, if you look at the Turkey's physical security and territorial integrity, we have a big threat on the other side of our border. You know, PKK, YPG, PKK in Iraq, its extension in Syria, YPG in Syria. They've been assisted, empowered, and tasked by some NATO countries. You know, the America is doing this openly, and some few other NATO countries are assisting with the America. So we are NATO country, they are NATO country, and some NATO countries coming together when a non-NATO, non-state element, a terror organization, to address an issue, which is a counterterrorism issue, they call it, but also it is creating a huge threat against my national security problem. This is one issue that we raise. The second issue, we are a member of NATO and we are member states, and the whole point of creating NATO to make the member states countries safer and create an environment and platform where they can be in strong solidarity. Yet, as member of NATO, we've been subjected to a number of declared and undeclared restrictions, defense industry restrictions by some NATO countries. So we also open this issue into debate too. So on the one hand, the counterterrorism concerns of Turkey, starting from PKK, YPG. On the other hand, the defense industry restrictions against Turkey. And I think we've had a very good and healthy discussions around these subjects, which I don't want to go into detail. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for your frank and open answers. Thank you. As mentioned, one or two questions from the room. Maybe Eka?
Try to raise my hand.
Microphone. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Minister, thank you very much for devoting so much time to us today. Former Foreign Minister and Deputy Vice Prime Minister of Georgia, member of the NDIC board. I want to continue perhaps with the last question that you've answered already quite comprehensively, but to switch attention a little bit to the Black Sea area. It's quite clear within the last few years already, abundantly clear to everybody, that there is one country that poses threat to all of the members of the NATO, collectively or individually. And that's Russia, which tries to revise the borders, and then with that, recraft its position, not only regionally, but then I would say globally as well in so many ways. And Black Sea is at the epicenter of all of that. We see not only what is happening in the Black Sea with the disruption of even civil navigation. There are already plans in my own country, in occupied region of Abkhazia, to rebuild the military naval base that Russia is talking about. That's a significant change in the Black Sea if that would materialize. Turkey has been and is a pivotal country in the Black Sea region, member of NATO and custodian in so many ways of the security of the region. Would you think that there is momentum right now for Turkey to lead the new vision, new strategy and commitment from NATO to strengthen security of the Black Sea in a meaningful sense, so that we are in a position where deterrence could work better rather than the realities where already in the conflict NATO needs to react to something that is already happening? Would you think that the gap is there and then the gap needs to be filled and you could play a role in it as a leading country in the Black Sea region?
Well, thank you for the question. I think this is another important topic on our agenda all the time. The diplomacy, defense and intelligence in Turkey. This is one of the overlapping issues for all of us, and one of the issues that brings us together around the table all the time. The security of Black Sea and what to do with Black Sea security. First of all, I think our main diagnosis is to prevent increasing militarization of Black Sea, because Black Sea for a long time, before the war, I think was enjoying quietness and a sea of transportation of the goods and services. This was very much important. After the war, the militarization of Black Sea has created huge problems for us. First of all, as you know, the interruption of the shipment of the grain from Ukraine was a disaster for the entire world, especially for the global south, for some African countries, and in general, the food market, the prices went up. So the President Erdogan, he was very sensitive on, especially on the food security for the entire world. He worked very hard to ensure a solution between Ukrainians and the Russians to bring about a grain deal. We managed it, but it lasted a certain time, within which time I think overall 33 million ton grain was shipped to the rest of the world. Today we are working on a similar arrangement together with UN and with partner countries. I just hope and pray that we really reach an agreement. This time it will not be maybe named as grain deal initiative, maybe another thing, but eventually the most important thing is to get the grain out of Black Sea. Not only the grain, but also to other goods out of Black Sea, to make sure that Black Sea serves for commercial purposes for the entire region. But the issue that you raised, the aggression, the militarization, and the threat and the risk of interrupting the trade and the security of the littoral countries are there. So therefore, if you paid, I'm sure, that's why I had a section in my speech, in a way, maybe indirectly addressing your question. We need to calm down the ongoing war in Ukraine. So far, the war itself is a huge tragedy, cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, and the destruction of entire infrastructure and superstructure of Ukraine. But we haven't seen geographical escalation yet. It's confined within Ukraine. And we haven't seen a methodological escalation of the war techniques. Still a conventional warfare. It's not involved at this moment the use of WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. This is a big plus. But how long can we have this luxury? If there is a wider escalation, what will happen? When we discuss about the wider escalation, one of the immediate vicinity is certainly Black Sea. That's why we pay extremely close attention what kind of, the risks and alternative scenarios that we can be exposed to, we can be subject to. And not only us, but also we are discussing some of the countries in the region, including Georgia. Today I had a very good meeting with my Georgian counterpart after our trilateral meeting. Again, at this meeting we also discussed this issue. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. A last question. Ready to take a last question, yeah, from the floor? I would privilege members of NGIC, so I give the floor first row, please.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I'm from Libya, and you mentioned that you are now involved to help the Libyan reaching their dreams of an election that they have been waiting for the last 4 or 5 years. So I would like very much to ask you to elaborate on that. And I'm sure you know very well that the players in Libya are from every corner of this globe. So are you coordinating with those who are involved in Libya as well? And are you, or shall you give us some happy news that maybe we can reach election by the end of 2024? Thank you very much. And thank you very much for all your efforts that you are also doing for Gaza and saving the children and the mother and the elderly and the people. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Libya is another important subject on our agenda. As you know, since 2019, there has been a new status quo in Libya now. And of course, I'm going to speak through our lenses. For us, for Turkey, the most important priority for us at the moment in Libya is not to see another conflict. We don't want to see the resumption of the conflict. This is number one priority. That's why our presence, our contacts, our work have always been focusing on this priority, not to see another conflict. As we saw in Syria and elsewhere, after the conflict, if you can manage to have some quiet period, the longer you have this time, the better the chances that you have a peaceful solution. But there are certain dynamics in Libya, as you know, and we cannot change these dynamics by force, which we don't want to change. It means war. I will mention a couple of them. East and West, we cannot let them stay divided forever, and we cannot let them to go to war to unify unilaterally in favor of one of the actors. So what can we do? This is the major question. As I said, number one priority is not to have a resumption of the conflict, but the second question is how to advance through political solutions. Again, through Turkey's perspective, what we do is, historically, we align ourselves in the beginning with the West, with legitimate government. But also we expanded our contacts and relations with the East. And in the last couple of years, as you know, we normalized our relations with Egypt and UAE and Saudis and some other regional countries too. And then we have used these normalized relations to bring some positive mood to Libya, because our friends in the eastern part of Libya, they have close affinity and connections with certain actors, with Egypt and UAE and others. So now around the table, alhamdulillah, as we say, now these 3-4 countries, we can come together. Now we are actually in, and really can have a very high quality discussions about what to do. What will be our role to really contribute Libya's first peace, and then unification, then independence and sovereignty. Of course, there are big number of differences, but I am optimistic. And I hope that in the near future we can have some good news. But the best news always is not to have a renewed conflict. This is what we are working around the clock all the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Thank you for your address, for honoring NGIC with your presence and the candid way you answered questions. Thank you very much. All the best. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for hosting me, Prime Minister, and for the patience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.